Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. At the end of the Skeleton Crew, spoiler alert, did anyone else feel kind of bad for Jod? Look, I know he's not a great guy. I wouldn't, tell him where my prize Beanie Baby collection is, for instance. But all things considered, he's really not a terrible person in a galaxy full of some really scummy and, desperate people. More importantly, I think had things gone his way in that last episode and his pirates had taken control of At Attin and he had become the de facto leader of the planet, I actually think things would have turned out relatively okay for the people of At Attin. No, seriously, hear me out. This is not a typical planet. At Attin is one of the jewel worlds of the Old Republic. There were originally 9 of them in total, and one by one, the rest were all destroyed in various disasters. If we take a look at one of these destroyed planets at Attin, things are pretty grim on the surface. The planet is covered in a haze of smoke, most likely caused by conflict. Most of the houses and buildings are damaged and looted, and those inhabitants left have all grouped themselves into, primitive hunter-gatherer tribes, and they're also fighting each other in some never-ending conflict. It's clear that the ring of satellites, which probably maintain their planet's barrier, have been destroyed sometime in the process. This leads me to think that on these other 8 jewel worlds, it wasn't necessarily internal issues, uprisings and, civil unrest that caused the destruction of this planet. It was because the barrier failed to hide these planets from the rest of the galaxy. And once that barrier was down, well, outsiders, most likely seeking treasure and fame, came in droves and destabilized the area. And I think it's very clear that Jod would never want something like this to happen to At Attin. He actually views this place as a paradise. I mean, he's called the kids in Skeleton Crew spoiled on numerous occasions. And I think there's a part of him that really wants to retire on this idyllic paradise utopia with its manicured lawns and, automated public transportation. Looks kind of nice. Jod saw the barrier as a perfect defense mechanism for the planet, something that he wanted to utilize once he took over control. And so all Jod really wanted was for the barrier to view his fleet as friendly so that he could come and go as pleased. Now, his pirate rabble is somewhat chaotic and violent. I don't really understand why they needed to just start indiscriminately firing into the town with those laser cannons when they arrived. Maybe they're just in a marauding mode, discourage the locals from fighting back. Sometimes a show of force can limit bloodshed. And in the pirates' defense, aside from a few brave individuals who try to fight back, there weren't that many casualties during this raid. Although I'm surprised that Neil's dad, who looks like an absolute unit, wasn't going around ripping arms off.
These cowards are giving us no trouble, Captain. Few of them who are armed, we've made examples of.
Hey, don't injure too many of them. I need them as workers. I need the mint in town.
And so this is kind of Jod's MO, right? He's a diplomat. He's a smooth talker. He lies and finagles, but he generally does not kill if he can help it. I mean, yeah, he killed Brutus while the poor pup was trapped in that loading arm, but that's what you get for mutiny. And then there was the acid pool thing, but, all those pirates had basically surrounded him. And so Jod will kill if he gets cornered like a rat. But if he's in control of the situation, he typically does not like violence, especially when he's dealing with innocents. He really doesn't seem like he wants to harm anyone. He takes no pleasure in waving weapons at people's faces. He actually seems annoyed and frustrated that he has to do so. And when KB seems to fatally crash the Onyx Cinder, there is even a look of remorse on his face.
Didn't need to be like this.
And it's clear during that whole scene in the supervisor tower, Jod could have solved a lot of his headaches by just shooting these kids and their parents, but he doesn't do that. The point is, despite all the hardships and unfair things that have happened in his life, despite all his wanting and needing more credits, this man does have its limits. He's not a great person, but he's not completely evil. He's not a savage lunatic who likes murdering people for no reason, and that does make him kind of more reliable and predictable. Now you might be thinking, Alan, these damn pirates are completely out of control, and there are definitely a few loose cannons that might do horrible things to the local populace. How could I possibly say that Jod running this planet will be a good thing? Well, first of all, I didn't say that it's a good thing. I just think it's better than the alternative if you think about what actually does happen. First, let's not forget that this planet at Attin was living in a complete lie. The supervisor is a droid brain, and he watches the entire planet through his legions of droids. I mean, we all thought this was a surveillance state of some kind when we first saw the planet, remember? It's a relatively benign surveillance state, But still, every person's movements and their activities are constantly being documented, and it's kind of weird. It's not really ideal. With Jod destroying the droid brain, he has essentially freed the citizens of this planet from the tyranny of the supervisor. And this droid, despite its intelligence, was basically in a holding pattern ever since it lost contact with the Republic. It didn't actually know what to do, except keep itself isolated from the rest of the galaxy. And so for decades, the people of At Attin have been slaving away, keeping an old Republic mint operational for really no reason. Now, in defense of the droid brain, At Attin has been more or less a utopia, and probably the best place to live in the galaxy, especially during the Clone Wars and Galactic Civil War period. Two major conflicts that the people of At Attin don't even know about, let alone, were affected by. But I think the droid's limited programming has kept At Attin blind for far too long. I mean, the people here are completely uninformed about wider galactic events. And I think the shortcoming comes from the AI droid's leadership. Even if the people of At Attin might not act on the news that the Republic has collapsed, I think it's something that all the citizens should at least know. So what happens if the pirates take over At Attin? Will it just be, rape and pillage? I actually don't think so. Not at all. As long as these people obey and continue working in the mint as Jod wants them to, I don't see any problems occurring. Especially after Jod tells these people that the Republic has fallen and that the government they worked for no longer even exists. At least in this case, they can make credits so that the pirates can use. That makes more sense. And if anything, the pirates will be far more flexible when it comes to governance than the supervisors ever would. Pirates tend to not be the most authoritarian type of individuals. And with a fleet of their own, they could actually connect At Attin indirectly to the wider galaxy. Trade for goods, bring stuff back to At Attin that people might be interested in, and also, give people on At Attin an opportunity to go out and explore the wider galaxy, once, trust is established, obviously. But this is clearly something that the supervisor would never allow. And here's the thing about these pirates, most of them aren't all that evil. I mean, it's clear that poor Glurb here just wanted to make some money to retire and become an underwater farmer. And I actually think that's quite typical for most pirates. Remember, a lot of these pirates were kind of forced into this life. They were born impoverished or as slaves. Maybe they are, victims of one of the major conflicts that happened. They could be former Confederates or former Imperial prisoners. Most of these guys were just trying to work towards some kind of goal so that they could retire or go legit. I mean, very few individuals want to just continue raping and pillaging and taking over ships because it's honestly not a great life, and it's also extremely dangerous. I mean, you saw that first boarding action in the first episode. How many pirates died trying to take down a bulk freighter? Most pirates dreamed of a place like At Attin to finally settle down in. And pirates were relatively organized. I mean, they had to be disciplined in order to crew large starships and maintain a fleet of starfighters. Pirates were also quite egalitarian in their own weird way. I mean, they would spread the loot amongst each other. Every individual had the ability to vote for major command decisions, and everyone was beholden to the pirate code, even the captain. I mean, in some ways, that's far more advanced and open than the authoritarian system created by the supervisor droid. And so, yeah, I can see the pirates not viewing At Attin as a place that they will raid, but as a place that they'll settle down and kind of call their own. And while, having pirates set up a base on your planet is not ideal, consider what actually happened. When Wim and Fern destroyed the galactic barrier and sent a message out to the New Republic, a New Republic task force arrives shortly after and engages the pirates on the planet and destroys their ability to fight back. It seems like a CR series corvette is also sent, most likely with a diplomatic entourage. We're going to try to get At Attin to sign a treaty with the New Republic so that they can return back to the fold with all that gold immediately. Now, this might seem ideal to the people of At Attin because, I think they would want to return to the old government system that they had been working for, but the New Republic isn't really the old Republic. They're different organizations with different strengths and weaknesses. As a part of the Great Works, At Attin would have been established a few centuries prior during the High Republic era, when the central government was relatively strong and wealthy. There was less corruption and graft, less conflict and turmoil. The New Republic, on the other hand, is directly descended from the Rebel Alliance, a ragtag group of freedom fighters who managed to inspire the galaxy to overthrow the Empire. This is a far weaker, and at the same time more militarized government. And even though Chancellor Mon Mothma, the leader of the New Republic, was someone the people of At Attin could trust, there were also different factions forming in the New Republic Senate, along with a bunch of different lobbies representing all sorts of political interests that At Attin most definitely could not trust. And Mon Mothma wasn't really a dictator, she was a delegator. She liked spreading her power around, so that's not necessarily good for At Attin. This means the future of At Attin would most likely lie in the hands of the legislative body. And there are going to be a lot of greedy individuals, a lot of greedy interests who are going to want their hands on those credits. The galaxy was just starting to recover from the Empire, and so the government desperately needed At Attin's treasure to be used to fund a variety of different projects. Because this mint is here, because there's so many vaults full of credits, it's going to be very hard to keep At Attin a secret once the New Republic finds it. I mean, first hundreds will arrive daily, and then thousands, and then millions, and then, At Attin will be kind of, the center of focus for most people in the galaxy who want credits. I think the New Republic will have to establish a massive military presence on this planet and also in the system. They might have to blockade the entire place. And this is something the barrier was designed to do in the first place in a much more eloquent and cheaper way. And this is the core problem with At Attin. I mean, its central purpose, the operation of this mint, just does not allow the planet to operate as if it were just any place. It ultimately will need heavy deterrence. And the New Republic, despite being, well-intentioned, is hilariously, incompetent. I just would not trust them to protect my world. And now with every bandit, pirate, heck, even Imperial Remnant group trying to arrive on this planet, the entire place will turn into a war zone. Despite the New Republic's best efforts to defend this world, people are going to die. Things are going to break on this planet. There's going to be collateral damage. This is not going to be good for the people of At Attin. And this is most likely not something that would happen if the barrier was kept intact and the pirates were in charge. At least with the pirates, they have ownership of this treasure, so they will do whatever it takes to protect it. And with the barrier intact, it's not exactly going to be that hard to do. And most importantly, if the wider galaxy finds out about At Attin, that also means that really big bads like Palpatine and the First Order will find out as well, which really would be a big deal. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. I'll see you next time.